This is Princess Alexandra of Kent. So I have two at the back here, which I planted last spring. They were bare root, I believe, and I planted them just sort of next to each other so they could grow into one shrub. And then I've just recently planted this third one at the front, and I just wanted to show you how big these blooms are. I mean, this is only a young plant. And also I just wanted to mention how we've had so much rain. All day yesterday it rained. It was rained the last few days as well, and I do think that the blooms hold up really well, so they don't really get ruined by the rain. They can droop a little bit because they just get so full of water, so I just have come out this morning and shaken off some of the water from the blooms, and then so it does make them flop a little bit with the weight. I have staked some of these just for now as it's young, but I am very impressed with the way that they handle the rain. I do think they're quite resistant, really. Beautiful colour, and they do smell incredible. Sort of a sweet old rose smell and like lychee. These two at the back did get black spot quite bad last year, but I do think the reason for that is because they were only getting probably about 4 hours of sun, whereas now I have lowered some trees rather, so that they are getting a lot more sun now. They're probably going to get about 6.5 to 7 hours, so hopefully they won't get black spot as badly, because I did have to defoliate them quite a lot. But it is a beautiful rose, and I think well worth having the flowers. Look at them, huge. It's more of a salmony pink colour as it emerges, and then it kind of fades to this cooler pink, but it's just wonderful, and I do recommend it. I've only had it in my garden, as I said. I planted them the back two last spring, but it is actually fast becoming one of my favourite roses. It smells just amazing. So the Princess Alexandra of Kent from David Austin Roses. I think they will get quite big. I think it's 4 or 4.5 feet. I have planted them fairly close together. I do want them to merge and become sort of one big shrub. Small roses that aren't quite in bloom yet. So I have 3 Eustacia vi here, and I have down here a Minerva, which again, considering it's been raining, it's a brand new, planted this spring, so it's still young, and the flowers are drooping a little bit, but considering it's been raining non-stop, they haven't been ruined. This is one of my favourite roses. I have to say that the camera isn't really picking up the purple. In person it does look a lot cooler, more of a cool tone. This is one of my favourite roses purely because of the scent as well. It's just incredible. Old rose, it's really, really strong. It's just amazing. I've seen this a lot more recently on people's channels on YouTube, and it's just gorgeous. Quite a compact rose. Have another one over here. Just starting to open. Again, the camera makes it look a lot warmer, lighter than it does in person. And then I've got my Eustacia vi. This here is a spicy parfuma, which I only planted this week from Eastcroft Nurseries. This is a Bliss parfuma, which I'm really excited about. I have a Lady Gardener, you can see just there, planted bare root. fairly recently as well, so this is more going to be my sort of apricot bed of roses. This is an Olivia Rose cutting, which I took last autumn maybe, as I was pruning another Olivia Rose, and it is actually doing really well. So again, I didn't just do a small cutting, I did quite a big one. It is one cutting that I've put in there, so I'm just hoping and waiting for new canes, but I think as its own root I'm sure it will take a while to establish. This is and will hopefully bloom soon, Hopes and Dreams, also known as Pacific Blue, which is really amazing. I believe hybrid tea. Got a lilac-y pink colour, really strong scent. Novalis here, or Poseidon, which is actually really shot up. You can see height on that. Timeless Cream. Ooh, I didn't notice this. This is new. This massive cane. Actually, this wasn't. I'm sure that this wasn't here a few days ago. This is Shandos Beauty, which I got this actually from, if you're in the UK, B&Q, and it was £15. And I noticed that they do quite often have Shandos Beauties for some reason at B&Q, and they've started doing Harkness roses as well. There's quite a lot of aphids at the moment, but yeah, I did buy it unfortunately with lots of black spot, and I did have to defoliate it completely, and it did come back. This is Joie de Vivre, which is a beautiful sort of apricot rose with no scent really to my nose, but it does flower really well. Here I have 3 Comte de Chambord, which doesn't like the rain, so quite typical that I feel as if whenever all my roses are about to bloom, it rains here in the UK. And yeah, this one does ball up quite a bit, but it has an amazing scent. Beautiful bright pink flowers, really light green foliage. It's very healthy, very healthy. It does have quite thorny stems, but they're very fine, almost hairy, but they are quite thorny. But it does have an incredible scent. I think it's a parent rose of Gertrude Jekyll. This here, hopefully, I'll show you in the future when it has bloomed properly. This, I don't see this rose around much, but it is called Natasha Richardson. It's a beautiful pink rose with such a strong fragrance, and it's so healthy, so healthy. In fact, because I have a few Olivia Rose Austins, I have one here, and then I have one here as well, and I have a little one at the back that I've recently planted. I think I planted it last year actually. And this one here was just covered in black spot, absolutely covered, and I had to defoliate it, and it bloomed beautifully, but it was planted I think maybe a month or two before this one, Bare Root. I think this is their the two of them, I think this is their 3rd year maybe, but this one's super healthy, no black spot, no issues. This one was covered in black spot and still does get it. I can see some now, in fact, just a little bit. I mean, people do say it's a very healthy rose. It is, and I will say it is a drooper at first when you first get it, but then as it matures it does become more upright. But again, strange that this one got really bad black spot and this one is perfectly healthy. But anyway, circling back to what I was saying, this Natasha Richardson's is obviously right next to this Olivia Rose, and this one did not catch any black spot. It's super healthy. It has multiple flushes, 2 to 3 flushes, and it was just gorgeous. I did have one thing last year though where its first flush was such a pale pink. It was almost like a white, almost like Generous Gardener, which I wasn't too pleased about. And I messaged, I think it's because it's a Harkness rose, I did message them, and they said that things that can affect bloom colour are obviously sun, but even things like the mulch that in the soil that you use. Apparently they said that darker mulches and soils can make more vibrant flowers. So I've made sure to mulch it maybe with a slightly darker one this year. I have, you can see here, a Septidile, which was a bare root, which is only planted this spring, which is a bit slower. This here is a Eustacia Vi, which everything's going a bit crazy at the moment, so it's a bit hard to see. But this Eustacia Vi, in general, is just such an incredible rose. It's actually blown me away at how vigorous it is, because this one, which is fairly large, was planted, I think potted last autumn at the same time as this teeny little Olivia Rose at the back there, and it's just miles bigger, healthier, blooming. It's just really, I'm really surprised by this rose actually. It's one I definitely would recommend. Eustacia Vi by David Austin. I do have an Ancient Mariner here, bare root the spring, getting a little bit swamped by the Alchemilla. I don't think you realise how big Alchemilla really gets. It's such a beautiful plant. Look at those droplets. I have a Silas Mana here, which I did move last year because it was getting way too much shade. I don't see great things online about this really. I know it was recommended by a popular YouTuber, but many people seem to say it doesn't do that well for them. But it looks quite good so far, we'll see. It was in very sort of almost deep, heavy shade, and it still bloomed. One round here actually as well. Let me have a look. So that's an Olivia there, and this one here is, I have to remember the name, Oceana. So it's a climbing rose. This was planted last spring, I think, and it was very, very slow. It didn't do much at all last year, but it is putting a lot of new growth out this year. It's like a bright pink, very strongly scented rose, but look at the thorns, so be careful. So I think that my garden is south facing, so it doesn't get, because of these established hedges that I have all around and trees around the garden, it doesn't get as much sun as you might think being south facing. So things tend to bloom a little bit slower in my garden. This is Coco Loco, which is about to pop. Again, I don't think that this is getting enough sun. It's getting some black spot there actually, and it's not looking as strong as my other bare roots. I'll leave you, or one more actually. This is Giardina, which is a climbing rose by Tantal. It has sort of light pink blooms, and I'm not sure, I see mixed things about it being strong fragrance or medium fragrance, but I have high hopes. And I'm planning to grow it up this wall. It's just a temporary trellis for now, but it's really healthy. I only planted this again, I think a few weeks ago, and it's just come on leaps and bounds, really. So Giardina. And then I think if we end here with Princess Alexandra of Kent. I can smell her from here, even though it's sort of cloudy and cold. It's beautiful. And I do have a few more roses to plant in this bed as well. I think there'll be a Gertrude Jekyll, an Aphrodite rose, and this here is Old Port. Not sure if I mentioned that. So yeah, definitely do recommend this rose.